what is the percentage of people we're actually going to be testing for coronavirus that are showing symptoms? Are we sort of rationing out who we can test? Because I know you said it could be the flu, it could be cold.
Well,
it could be other things.
this is true for all laboratory tests that are done. They should only be done on people who are sick, because that's what was mentioned earlier. Testing somebody who's not sick is much more likely to give you a false positive than anything else. So in medicine, as a rule, we don't test people who are not sick. This is not a test for, are you a carrier of this virus? The reason to do this test is actually to establish a diagnosis in people who are sick. So we know who has coronavirus infection and who has some other cause for their illness.
Wow. So that was Dr. Matthew Carter, the state epidemiologist in Connecticut. I've played that video a million times because it's so important, because so much of what we're seeing is determined by the PCR test. Jay Terry here, streaming to you live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. You can follow me online, also at my website at jterrypresents.com. Got Mr. Sparks in the house. Yeah, it's so nice. It's so nice to have you back on the show live with me. We should have like a two-shot if we could do that somehow. It's so nice to get our studio, and here we are, and we're ready to do some stuff together, broadcasting, which is exciting. So we cooked up a show for you guys today. Did I cut you off, Mr. Sparks?
No, you did not.
I'm sorry. I tend to talk a mile a minute, and then he interjects with some great thoughts and ideas based on what we're covering. So today we're going to be talking about the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine. That is the thing. Oh, I said the word, so hopefully the video doesn't get flagged. So I talked about this the other day, but I want to talk more about it. There's so much to cover. There are things that I left out, and now I can finally pronounce polyethylene glycol, which we'll talk about that. And I wanted to start off first with the PCR test. So what we were just watching before, and if you're just tuning in, I just shared a short clip of Dr. Matthew Carter in Connecticut in March at the coronavirus hearing. And he's talking about testing asymptomatic people who are not sick, and how that is not something that the medical community had typically done in the past. That is just something that wasn't common that would happen. So I find it really interesting that so much is wrapped up in the PCR testing, from locking down our state to deciding if the vaccine is working or not. So I wanted to share with you, let's go share on here on Twitter. I have a video that I picked out. So this video that I'm about to show you, this is Dr. Mullis. Now, Dr. Mullis is the inventor of the PCR test. He died just before the pandemic. Pretty wild, right? So he had some interesting things to say about Dr. Fauci and the likes of Dr. Fauci and people, these bureaucrats, basically, these scientific bureaucrats who are really making a lot of money. I would say that Dr. Mullis was like boots on the ground in science. He got dirty with the science. He got into the science. He was the science. He designed the PCR test. Now, one of the things that he said, and you should go look him up, go read about him. I highly recommend it. One of the things that he did say is that the PCR was not a diagnostic. It wasn't to diagnose you with a disease, whether you had it or you're going to be sick or get sick. It's just really interesting. So this is like just a really short clip, and we're going to dive more into the PCR testing and how that relates to the Pfizer vaccine and all that kind of interesting stuff. So I'm going to pull him. Bear with me as I get him going. I want to make sure I start him from the top. So here we go.
All the details and stuff, and listen, these guys like Fauci get up there and start talking. He doesn't know anything really about anything, and I'd say that to his face. Nothing. The man thinks you can take a blood sample and stick it in an electron microscope, and if it's got a virus in there, you'll know it. He doesn't understand electron microscopy, and he doesn't understand medicine, and he should not be in a position like he's in. Most of those guys up there on the top are just total administrative people, and they don't know anything about what's going on at the bottom. Those guys have got an agenda, which is not what we would like them to have, being that we pay for them to take care of our health in some way. They've got a personal kind of agenda. They make up their own rules as they go. They change them when they want to, and they smugly, like Tony Fauci, does not mind going on television in front of the people who pay his salary and lie directly into the camera. go to all the details and stuff and listen. You know, these guys like Fauci get up there and start talking. You know,
So that is Dr. Mullis, and he designed the PCR tests. And I just say there's a lot more that you can research on him, and I could probably do a whole show just on him and the PCR test. A very interesting scientist, totally outside of the realm of what we're seeing with Dr. Fauci. I mean, this guy, he's boots on the ground. He's actually getting dirty in the science. He's doing the science. It's his test that they're abusing. They're using this test because anybody could show a positive result and not be sick. Like it just captures as many cycles. So the way it goes, and you probably have something to say about this too, Mr. Sparks. The way that it goes is they cycle the PCR test, so many cycles, and it's just a mess. It really isn't meant for that. You can almost find anything you're trying to look for. We all carry kinds of things in our bodies that you could probably find. It doesn't mean we're sick. It might mean that we're exposed to something or we've carried something, but it doesn't. It's not a diagnostic. It's not to say you have COVID because the PCR test came out positive. It's absolutely insane and crazy. So I have another video that I want to share with you. Now we're gonna get right into the V word, but I wanted to share this video with you. This is the FDA talking about the approval.
I am pleased to announce that late yesterday, the FDA authorized for emergency use the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine. This is the first COVID-19 vaccine to be authorized in the United States. The FDA is respected worldwide and is considered the gold standard regulator of medical products. We applied our high standards of review in reviewing this product so that Americans can have trust and confidence that the vaccine meets FDA's rigorous standards for safety and effectiveness. And with this authorization, we know that our federal partners are already moving to distribute the first doses of the vaccine throughout the country. I am pleased to announce that late yesterday, the FDA authorized for emergency use the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine. This is the first COVID-19 vaccine to be authorized in the United States. The FDA is respected worldwide and is considered the gold standard regulator of medical products. We applied our high standards of review in reviewing this product so that Americans can have trust and confidence that the vaccine meets FDA's rigorous standards for safety and effectiveness. And with this authorization, we know that our federal partners are already moving to distribute the first doses of the vaccine throughout the country. I am pleased to announce that late yesterday, the FDA authorized for emergency use the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine. This is the first COVID-19 vaccine to be authorized in the United States. The FDA is respected worldwide and is considered the gold standard regulator of medical products.
Sorry, we're going on a loop here. Sorry, didn't mean to do that. So yeah, there's the FDA. This is so wonderful. We're going to get into that because we read the document that the Pfizer and BioNTech submitted to the FDA and talked about how and why they should be granted the EUA approval process, which we're going to get into that too. And we're going to talk about some things that are in that document. Oh, I forgot to put my show notes in there. I will do that for you. I will try and paste those into there while we're live. If not, I'll do it after we go live. And I owe that to YouTube for the last show I did. So I will do that, guys. I apologize for that. It's tricky to do it live in real time. So I'll have to figure that out. But anyway, we have a link to the FDA, the document that Pfizer and BioNTech. BioNTech is a German company. And of course, Pfizer, we're going to get into that too real quick before we even get into the vaccine. But it was one more video. Oops, I blew him up so far. I didn't mean to do that. There's one more video. Sorry about that.
Reviewing this product.
There's one more video that I wanted to share with you, if I possibly can. So let me see here. Hold on a second. I'm sorry. Sometimes I want this to blow up, and then it won't blow up for me, and then it blows up for me, and I can't get it to unblow up. So let me see here. Sorry about that. Having a technical glitch. We're just going to move right along to the video that I had was... Actually, it really drives me crazy how I can't easily shrink that. And it's just like giving me a hard time. I don't understand why. Hold on a second. I'm not able to shrink that down. Forget it. We're just going to go. What I want to do is I want to share with you. This is Dr. Fauci. So we're going to jump into this, and then we're going to jump into Pfizer. And of course, Dr. Fauci is blown up really big. That's okay. We'll leave Dr. Fauci up real big like that because I'm not going to mess with it. But so he is, just take a listen. Let's just play the clip.
C-SPAN, more relevant.
Oh, I'm so sorry. A freaking ad. Sorry about that, guys.
Dates that I mentioned. But one of the things that we are going to do that you need to understand that has been a stumbling block for previous development of vaccines, and that is even before you know something works, at risk, you have to start producing it. Because once you know it works, you can't say, great, it works. Now, give me another 6 months to produce it. So we're working with a variety of companies to take that risk. We didn't take it with Zika. That's why, we have a nice Zika vaccine, but we don't have enough to do it because there's no Zika around. Same with SARS. So that's one of the things we're really going to push on, is to be able to have it ready if, in fact, it works. Now, the issue of safety, something that I want to make sure the American public understand. It's not only safety when you inject somebody and they get maybe an idiosyncratic reaction, they get a little allergic reaction, they get pain. There's safety associated. Does the vaccine make you worse? And there are diseases in which you vaccinate someone, they get infected with what you're trying to protect them with, and you actually
I'm not sure.
enhance the infection.
There we go.
You can get a good feel for that in animal models. So that's going to be interspersed at the same time that we're testing. We're going to try and make sure we don't have enhancement. So the worst possible thing you could do is vaccinate somebody to prevent infection and actually make them worse. Next, and finally, with regard, I'll get you to your question.
Okay, so this is like pretty wild here. Let me see if I can zoom out. Oh, there I go. I'm zooming out. Sorry, it's ever so slow as I zoom out of Dr. Fauci. So, basically, what he's saying is, you don't want to make people sicker, right, with this vaccine. We're going to get into that. So that's Dr. Fauci. Why don't we just jump to the next thing, and I'm going to get into what's in the vaccine. But before we get into what's in the vaccine and look through important parts of the document that Pfizer and BioNTech sent to the FDA, I wanted to bring you to this website. You guys could check out this website. I'll have it in my show notes. And that I'll post. I promise you, I'll post those show notes for you. So this is their website. And this is like all of the injuries, not injuries, I'm sorry. These are, I'm having so much trouble here. Hold on a second. I just lost that. Where did we go? Nope, we don't want Dr. Fauci. Let me see. Here we go. Sorry about that, guys. Oh, not still Dr. Fauci. Where did my tab go? Hold on a second. Let me get that for you. So let me just explain to you guys a little bit as I go get that link. I'm just going to go grab it again. This is so Pfizer, they're convicted felons, okay? They are convicted felons, and they absolutely should not be making this vaccine. How are we even supposed to trust that? How is that even possible that we could honestly trust Pfizer of all people? It's just insane to me. Hold on a second while I get this in here.
Well, one of my favorites is their
yeah, thank you, Mr. Spar.
their several false claims act and related. I mean, we've got like $1 billion penalty here, $161 million. They have a lot of that. And then there's the kickbacks and bribery. They get that.
All right, let's see if we can pull this back up. Okay, so here we are. Bear with me. Having a little bit of technical glitches. So this is a website that you guys can check out. This is Pfizer. Let's see if I can shrink that down a little bit. This is driving me crazy today. My system is just giving me a little bit of a hard time. So this is Pfizer, and I want to show you guys. I'm having trouble with my share screen here. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can get this. How frustrating. Let me see if I can shrink it down a little bit so you guys could see. Okay, perfect. So here we go. We got, like Mr. Sparks was saying, we got false claims. We got healthcare related offenses. Okay, look at the amount of money. I'm not sure if you can read that on the screen, but Mr. Sparks, you
3,373,675,000.
listen to this. Government contracting related offenses.
1,161,000,000 and $1,892.
Wow. And then look at this. Oh, now I shrunk again. Well, hold on. Let me blow it back up. Here we go. So, if you check this out, this is all of their offenses: drug and medical equipment safety violations, Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. What is that last one? I can't.
Kickbacks and bribery.
Kickbacks
That's one of my favorites.
and bribery.
They only got 34,700,000 on that thousand. They have 3 offenses there. See, in the next column, they're going to go, I think, the times they were hit with that. So, like with the government contracting related offenses, it's 23, the number. So it's, I think, 23, equaling $1,161,000,000. Let's see. False Claims Act, they've been hit with that 23 times.
Oh my gosh, that's just crazy. So you could see over here, I'm sorry, my big head is in the way. So these are the number of records. So off-label, unapproved promotion of medical products, $3 billion, False Claims Act. Let me see if I can bring that up just a little bit so you can see that there. And let's see up here. And they got healthcare related offenses. I said that one. Was there another one at the top? Okay, I guess we've gone through it. But look at all these times that environment related offenses 23 times.
That's for those who want to go green.
You can't make this up.
This
is Pfizer for you guys. This is Pfizer. You really are gonna trust what Pfizer is doing, right? You feel comfortable with this? Pfizer and BioNTech. BioNTech. Just think about that for a minute. That all connects to like the technocracy that we've been discussing with the technocrats.
That's a German company.
That's a German company.
They did this, co-worked it, I guess, together.
Yeah.
Put it together.
Yeah. So so I'm going to pull up I've got some slides that I prepared for you guys. So let's take a first look into what is in the vaccine and discuss that a little bit, because the polyethylene glycol, which I couldn't pronounce on the last show, it's like, duh. So polyethylene glycol, we have an article from Children's Health Defense that I have all queued up and ready to go for that. I mean, there's so much that the Children's Health Defense has been coming out on. I don't want to jump around too fast. Maybe we should look at the first article since we're talking about Pfizer, because what the Children's Health Defense did is they petitioned the government not to allow this EUA. And we're going to get into what an EUA is, because an EUA is not FDA approval. They're giving an emergency usage approval of an experimental fast-track vaccine that they don't really understand or know what it's going to do to the human body according to their own literature that we know, that we can see that they're sharing with us. So it's really kind of mind-boggling that this is where we're at in the world. So I'm going to pull up the Children's Health Defense article. You got that pulled up on your screen there, Mr. Sparks?
Which I think you have 2.
The very first one. So the CHD responds to news of life-threatening reaction of Pfizer COVID vaccine. Oh, this is actually with the PGE. So we'll just stick with that because that will go into the contents. I thought I had the one where they petition the FDA, but I also have that too. You can follow the Children's Health Defense, the Defender. This is a new publication that they're doing. One of our favorite journalists has been, her stories have been covered here. If you're not following her, I really recommend her. Whitney Webb. She does the Unlimited Hangout. She also hangs out with the American Vagabond, Ryan Christian. Is it Ryan Christian
Correct.
Or Christian's son?
I think it's Christian.
So Ryan Christian and the American Vagabond, if you haven't heard of them or checked out that's really good. And Whitney Webb, excellent journalist. She does a really thorough job. Sometimes it's hard to read her work because she goes below the surface, and it's really upsetting what she uncovers and the amount of corruption and what we're dealing with. So this is an article out of the Children's Health Defense. and I'm going to hopefully get it there. I'm starting to learn my system just a little bit better here, so I'm glad about that. Sorry guys, as I tweak this around and see if I can bring this up just a tad bit more so we can kind of look at this together. So this is breaking CHD, Children's Health Defense responds to news of life-threatening reaction to Pfizer COVID vaccine. So in this vaccine is something called polyethylene glycol. Now there's a lot of controversy on this compound, this polymer. They use it as a polymer. And, there's been discussion about whether it's safe and effective, and there's science, a lot of mainstream scientists are saying it's inert. But there's definite controversy over that being inert because many people unknowingly are allergic to this stuff. So it's pretty scary that this is in the vaccine. So you could totally check out this article.
I believe you said about 8% of the population.
8% of the population, and you wouldn't even know it. So, that a couple of people died. They had anaphylactic shock when they had this vaccine. So that's really intense. So one of the parts of this article, what they get into is that there's not real informed consent. So let's just take a little bit of, read a little bit out of this. And I will put all these links in my show notes and post them online for you guys. I have another video I'll share with you and I'll post it.
I'm not sure if the actual two that we're referring to had passed away. I think that they had a severe reaction.
Yeah, no, they didn't die.
There, were a couple that died in the trials, but they had a severe reaction, just to keep it accurate.
Yeah, sorry about that. I misspoke. They did not die. They had a serious anaphylactic reaction. Thank you, Mr. Sparks. So, let's just read a little bit here. Media outlets are reporting that 2 individuals who received the Pfizer BioNTech COVID-19 mRNA vaccine developed severe anaphylactic reactions following the injection. England's National Health Service, NHS, warned Wednesday that people with a history of significant allergic reactions to a vaccine, medicine, or food should not get the COVID-19 vaccine developed by USA pharmaceutical giant Pfizer, a convicted felon, is designing the vaccines. What I want to know, these corporations that are so big, too big to fail, too big to jail, too big to abide by our common laws, about laws like if you and I did any of the stuff that Pfizer has pulled, we'd be locked up. But see, the thing is with a corporation, everybody just throws the ball around somewhere else because its corporation is this huge thing. So they get away with stuff.
To my understanding, one of the things that happens is that they get convicted, but no individual actually is accountable.
Yeah. So
they pay fines, which accounts for a hit on their profits, but it still is lucrative. When you look at their, I guess overall we're looking at around $4+ billion that they were fined since the year 2000. So how much money did they make in that time? I don't think that was, they were able to navigate that.
Yeah, it's really interesting. That's a good point. Thanks for clarifying that. So the way that they get hit in the wallet. And as we know, this is just the cost of doing business for these folks. They have no moral compass at all whatsoever, period. It's really quite scary. So that this is, and New York has put out a bill to mandate this vaccine, and we don't even know how well it works, just the COVID vaccine in general. There are many candidates for these vaccines. This is just the first one to get emergency usage authorization. It's not been approved by the FDA, and we'll get into that more.
Can I add one more
Yeah,
point?
please do.
See, in their literature, in the submission, FDA submission, they do admit that they did not test this on people that had anaphylactic reactions. They excluded them. That was in the screening. They didn't want to have them in the trial. So that means that if you are subject to it, that's it's untested for that.
Yeah.
But you're going to be tested in when they give it out. That's the case.
So we are, and it even starts to say this in the slides that I'm going to get into, which is out of the FDA's own document that they submitted for the EUA. So one of the things that sits heavy with me is this now like the lowering of our standards? Like we're just going to have crappy standards, so nothing is going to really be approved by the FDA in a serious way because, we're going to have more pandemics. Even Bill Gates is saying that this is pandemic 1 and it'll be pandemic 2. I mean, how far is it going to go until the people rise up and say, hey, wait a minute, we need to have a conversation here. So let's just take a little bit more of a gander at this. So the warnings come after people are given the shot, right? So on August 26, Children's Health Defense sent a letter to Jerry Menkenkoff, Director Office of the Human Research Protections Department of Health and Human Services regarding the phase 2 Moderna mRNA 1273 vaccine. The letter requested the Office for Human Research Protections to investigate the use of polyethylene glycol, PEG, in Moderna's COVID-19 mRNA vaccine, Pfizer's COVID vaccine, which also uses the mRNA technology, also contains the PEG. This is really pretty wild stuff. I mean, so, PGE is basically, there are two chemicals that... PEG.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So PEG is, they say that it's an inert chemical and it's not that bad. I mean, there's antifreeze. This isn't an antifreeze, but it's in the same family. It's a polymer. It's a synthetic. It basically allows the modified recombinant RNA into your bloodstream, into your body, which we don't know what that does. We've never ever in human history have ever vaccinated people with a vaccine made from synthetic RNA. Okay, it's unprecedented. So what it does is the synthetic RNA reacts with the proteins of the COVID SARS-CoV-2, which develops into, if you carry SARS-CoV-2, if you get sick from it, if you have the virus, then you get the disease COVID-19, which is so much like the language is just like the AIDS thing with I put you on camera, you're not ready for me. But it's so much. So Dr. Judy Mikovits talks about HIV quite a bit and whatnot. I'm not going to jump all over the place there, but it's just interesting how it correlates like that. So to have AIDS, you could test positive for HIV, but you may never develop AIDS. So you've got the same scenario here with COVID-19, where you could test positive, which you probably will, because many people can test positive because they've had coronaviruses, and the smallest amount of RNA in your blood system could show up as a positive. And what I've heard, there's rumors going around that it goes at 45 cycles in Connecticut. And then we just saw an article, which we'll get into, and that's from the Children's Health Defense, where it is like 45 cycles, right? Did you see that?
What they were complaining in that article, which you haven't brought up yet, is that because they cycle for the trial to find who has been infected with it, they did the PCR test. So that would be, we didn't do the research on that, but it'd be interesting to know how many of these 151, I think it was, people or whatever it was that got the COVID-19, in the trials that had the placebo supposedly, how many of them actually got ill. What were their symptoms? Was it just a positive test? Because that's one of the things that I think Dr. Lee was protesting was that you don't know even if what the actual infection rate is.
Yeah, so this is just very, very unnerving kind of stuff. So I'm gonna pull up. Let's pull up. Here's the composition. We're gonna just take a peek at this. So this is the Pfizer, and I'm sorry guys, you may not be able to really clearly read that, but this is just giving you what the what is in the vaccine, what it contains in the vaccine, where you can see the polyethylene glycol. You can see that it's got, this is what really freaks me out. The vaccine contains a nucleoside modified messenger RNA, mod RNA, encoding the viral spike glycoprotein of SARS-CoV-2. And then they list a bunch of other ingredients here with the vaccine. And I just want to say this with the BioNTech. So BioNTech, their modified recombinant nucleoside modified RNA is a proprietary thing. So what that means is they don't have to tell us what they did to get that modified recombinant synthetic RNA. They don't have to tell us anything about it. But what I did find out through doing a little bit of digging, BioNTech is being sued. And I discussed this on the last live that I did a few days ago. BioNTech is being sued for patent infringement for a patent on something called, get this, neon green. So both the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccines contain, so what neon green is, it's a fluorescent, it's like lightning, you see lightning bugs? Well, this is made from sea vertebrae. It's made from sea creatures. Now, interestingly, Moderna has luciferase. You can't make this up, right? Luciferase is in Moderna's vaccine. And so they're in both the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine, and it's in the Moderna. So in the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine, it's called neon green. And the Moderna vaccine, it's called luciferase. And they both have it, and they don't discuss why. And the Children's Health Defense asks a great question, like, they don't tell you why, they don't tell you what it's used for. People have ideas about that, but it makes it, so basically what luciferase or the neon green can do, you would be able to be scanned. A cell phone or technology would be able to scan. The nanotechnology, and that's true with the nanotechnology. And I didn't pull up that slide. We'll get more into the nanotechnology, which is a big part of what this vaccine is. It definitely has nanotechnology in it. And it's never been, this kind of vaccine has never been injected into human beings before. But let's take another look at what an EUA is. And here's the interesting thing. So we're talking about unleashing a vaccine onto millions of people across the world. We don't know what that effect is going to be in human beings because it's never been tried in human beings before. They skip the animal trials. It's fast-paced, fast-tracked. Light speed is what BioNTech calls it. They're like, yeah, man, this is light speed. They're making billions of dollars. They've already sold the vaccine. We don't even know if it works. And our government is buying boku stockpiles of it. You can't make this stuff up. It's mind-boggling. And nobody on the media is talking about it except for independent people like me are talking about this. And it's like insane that the media, the mainstream media, is not discussing any of that. And in fact, we get censored for even talking about it. This video could get pulled down. Who even knows? But this is absolutely insane. So this is an experimental vaccine. It's never been introduced into the human body before, ever in the history of humanity. And this is what they're allowing, the FDA. So this just goes into the requirements. Based on the declaration of the Secretary of Health and Human Services that the COVID-19 pandemic constitute a public health emergency with significant potential to affect national security at the health and security of the United States citizens living abroad, FDA may issue an EUA after determining certain statutory requirements are met. And it gives a bunch of statutes and sections. The chemical, biological, radiological, or nuclear CBRN agent referred to in March 27, 2020, EUA declaration by the Secretary of HHS, SARS-CoV-2 can cause a serious or life-threatening disease or condition. Based on the totality of scientific evidence available, including data from adequate and well-controlled trials, if available, it is reasonable to believe that the product may be effective to prevent, diagnose, or treat such serious or life-threatening diseases or conditions that can be caused by SARS-CoV-2, or to mitigate a serious or life-threatening disease or condition caused by an FDA-regulated product used to diagnose, treat, or prevent a disease or condition caused by SARS-CoV-2. I just got to stop there for a second. Did you guys hear that? What does that even mean? right? So what does that even mean? What does that even mean? Let's just read that sentence again, because this is like crazy. Okay, so, the known and potential benefits of the product, right? When used to diagnose, prevent, or treat the identified serious or life-threatening disease or condition outweigh the known potential risk of the product. Okay, wait, let me go back up a little bit here. I don't mean to confuse you guys. I'm just going to read this again here. It says, based on the totality of scientific evidence available, including data from adequate and well-controlled trials, if available, it is reasonable to believe that the product may be effective to prevent, diagnose, or treat such serious or life-threatening diseases or conditions that can be caused by SARS-CoV-2, or to mitigate a serious or life-threatening disease or condition caused by an FDA-regulated product used to diagnose, treat, or prevent disease or a condition caused by SARS-CoV-2. Wow. So that's just that's the criteria. That's what they have to, navigate and go around so that they can get this always calling it executive, emergency usage authorization, which is not FDA approval. Just think about that for a second. So this is a little bit shorter here. Here's the part that really is unnerving. In the event an EUA is issued for this product, it would still be considered unapproved, and it would be under further investigation under an investigational new drug application until it is licensed under a biologics license application, BLA. Licensure of COVID-19 vaccine will be based on a review of additional manufacturing, efficacy, and safety data, providing greater assurance of the comparability of licensed product to product tested in the clinical trials, greater assurance of safety based on larger numbers of vaccine recipients who have been followed for a longer period of time, and additional information about efficacy that addresses, among other questions, the potential for waning of protection over time. So, this, so it gets even better. So I got another slide for you guys. This is the one that really, is this the one, did I got this one right here? No, I didn't get, the effectiveness. Here we go. Sorry about that. No, that's the wrong one. Oh, bummer. I didn't put there's a slide that I missed that I didn't put in there. I'm going to dig that out in a second. I'm going to find that slide. I had another slide that basically says that the trials are open. They're actually open. I'm going to pull that up for you guys right now because I forgot to put that in my system, but I easily can share that with you via screen sharing. So basically what they're saying is that they don't know. They don't know what's going to happen. They have no idea what it is that they're doing. And I'm just pulling up this photo because that was an important slide that I left out. And so this particular slide, where did that go? Where did it go? I'm just looking here. Sorry, guys. Give me a second as I pull up that slide that I was looking for that I thought I put into the system. So they basically what's going on is anybody who gets this vaccine. Here, let's do a screen share if I can do this. Let me see if I can share the screen. Here we go. Oh, share screen. Okay, here we go. Sorry about that. Let me shrink this down a little bit so it makes some sense for you guys. I'm going to move my big head out of the way here. Okay, an EUA request for COVID-19 should include all safety data. All safety data accumulated from studies conducted with the vaccine, with data from phase 1 and 2 focused on serious adverse events of special interest, and cases of severe COVID-19 among study participants. Phase 3 safety data should include characterization of reactogenicity, common and expected adverse reactions shortly following vaccination, in a sufficient number of participants from relevant age groups, and should include a high portion of enrollment participants, numbering well over 3,000, followed for serious adverse events of special interest for at least a month after completion of the full vaccine regimen. The phase 1 and 2 safety data likely will be longer duration than the available safety data. I'm going to move my head around. From phase 3 trial at the time of submission for an EUA request, and thus are intended to complement the available data from the safety follow-up from ongoing phase 3 studies. So basically, and you can look in this document, and I have it in my show notes. You can look at this document, and it says the study is open. They haven't closed it down. They haven't given the approval. There's even like one more thing here. That's the more thorough thing. The composition, the dosing regimen. This is all, you guys can check this out.
You know, I'm just going to just give you this little comforting thought. You know, the data from phase 3 studies should include a median follow-up duration of at least 2 months after completion of full vaccination regimen. So, you know, that's to help provide adequate information to assess vaccines' benefit risk profile. 2 months.
Unbelievable.
That doesn't sound very rigorous to me.
No, it's not very rigorous.
And one of the other things that you come across that I don't know if we put in a slide or anything, but it's that they do not have any data knowing if it stops transmission, which has been something that's been talked about.
Yes, the asymptomatic.
Which is kind of important.
Yeah, that's very important. I thought I did have a slide of that.
It's further in the document. I was looking at that earlier.
Yeah, it totally is. I thought I had taken a slide for that. Here's something that's interesting. I think it might be over here. Let's take a peek at this. I'm going to pull this up here. Hold on a second, guys. This is share screen. So, let me just pull this up. So basically the FDA is aware that some COVID-19 vaccine developers may wish to immediately unblind their trials upon issuance of an EUA in order to rapidly provide vaccines to trial participants who receive placebos. Some developers have proposed maintaining blinding in a crossover design that provides vaccine to previous placebo recipients and placebo to previous vaccine recipients. Such strategies would impact collection of longer-term placebo-controlled study data and evaluation of the duration of the vaccine efficacy. Ethical and scientific issues with offering vaccination to placebo recipients have been discussed in recent statements and articles. Sorry, that wasn't exactly what I was thinking that was in there. This is a 53-page document, but this is just going into what they're going to do and how it works. And if they unblind the participants and give them the vaccine in a few months, then they basically erase any evidence of a problem, because if they get the vaccine, and with these vaccines, you may not know for months that you have had a really bad reaction. You could develop an autoimmune disease, which is listed as one of their adverse events, autoimmune disease. Even in our own state of Connecticut, they've recognized that vaccination in general is contraindicated for those with a history of autoimmune disease, because it can trigger one. That happened to my child. So you got to really be careful with this. And how are we going to know if you don't keep the trial participants blinded for a long period of time? And then they cite ethics. Isn't that just amazing? That's absolutely amazing. And there is, I don't think I put that slide in here with the, here's the effectiveness. So I'm going to pull this up. Did I already pull that one up? I already did read this one. This is about the PCR testing. So we can see here that suspected COVID-19 cases, as specified in the protocol, suspected cases of symptomatic COVID-19 were not PCR confirmed, were not recommended as adverse events unless they met regulatory criteria for seriousness. 2 serious cases of suspected but unconfirmed COVID-19 were reported both in the vaccine group, and narratives were reviewed. In one case, a 36-year-old man with no medical comorbidities experienced fever, malaise, headache, and malaise. Am I saying that right? Malaise beginning on the day of the dose 2, and was hospitalized 3 days later for further evaluation of apparent infiltrates of the chest, radiograph, and treatment of dehydration. I'm sorry, I lost my space here. There we go. a PCR test, I'm not even going to try to say that word, for SARS-CoV-2 was negative on the day of admission, and the chest CT was reported as normal. The participant was discharged from the hospital 2 days after admission, with chest imaging findings that are difficult to reconcile. It is possible that this event represented reactogenicity following the second vaccination, a COVID-19 case with false negative tests that occurred less than 7 days after completion of the vaccine series or unrelated infectious process. In the other case, a 66-year-old man with no medical comorbidities experienced fever, malaise, and shortness of breath beginning 28 days post-dose 2 and was hospitalized 1 day later with abnormal chest CT showing a small left-sided consolidation. He was discharged from the hospital 2 days later, and multiple PCR tests collected over a 10-day period beginning 2 days after symptoms onset were negative. It is possible, though highly unlikely, that this event represents a COVID-19 case with multiple false negatives, tests that occurred more than 7 days after completion of the vaccine regimen, and more likely that it represents an unrelated infectious process. So among 34,000 total cases of 3,400 total cases of unconfirmed COVID-19 in the overall study population, 1,594 occurred in a vaccine group versus 1,816 for the placebo group. Suspected COVID-19 cases that occurred 7 days after any vaccine were 409 in the vaccine group versus 287 in the placebo group. It is possible that the imbalance is suspected COVID-19 cases occurring in the 7 days post-vaccination represents vaccine reactogenicity with symptoms that overlap with those of COVID-19. Overall, these data do not raise a concern. I don't know. This is just like... It
sounds like they don't know a lot.
They don't know a lot of what's going on. That they're just releasing this vaccine and celebrating like it's like.
Well, here I found a little clip that's short, but it's vaccine effectiveness against asymptomatic infection. Data is limited to assess the effect of the vaccine against asymptomatic infection, as measured by detection of the virus and/or detection of antibodies against non-vaccine antigens that would indicate infection. It basically is saying that they don't know if it's transmissible after your vaccine.
Yeah, and that's pretty crazy. So they don't know, and they did say, Fauci says, he goes on to say that you have to wear your mask. They don't know. That's in this 53-page document that you can also check out. So that's in the 53 pages of it. And I just found one of the slides that I had misplaced. Let me get this here. There's open trial. Here we go. Let me pull this up for you guys. In the event an EUA is issued for this product, it would still be considered unapproved, and it would be under further investigation, under investigational new drug application, until it is licensed under a biologic. I did read that one already, so I just wanted to go back to that real quick. It's pretty wild. Let me pull up the Bell palsy. So 4 people in the trial, Bell palsy was reported by 4 vaccine participants and none in the placebo group. These cases occurred at 3, 9, 37, and 48 days after vaccination. 1 case onset at 3 days post-vaccination was reported as resolved within 3 days after onset, and the other 3 were reported as continuing or resolving as of November 14th, when the data was cut off of ongoing durations of 15 to 28 days, respectively. The observed frequency of reported Bell palsy in the vaccine group is consistent with the expected background rate in the general population, and there is no clear basis upon which to conclude causal relationship at this time, but the FDA will recommend surveillance for Bell palsy with development of the vaccine into larger populations. There were no other notable patterns of numerical imbalances between treatment groups, blah, 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 blah. So I mean, it's just that is...
So did anyone
pretty
in
crazy.
the placebo group get the
Nobody.
Bell palsy?
Nobody in the placebo group got the Bell palsy.
It happened to happen in the vaccinated.
The only people that got Bell palsy were in the vaccine, the actual vaccine. So and apparently, Del Bigtree's I Can Decide Action Network, they forced it to be a real placebo. So the placebo is supposed to be saline. I still don't trust it, but I know that AstraZeneca is the pneumonia vaccine, I think, that they said that they're testing, because that's what they typically do.
Menococcal, is that pneumonia?
No, menococcal is meningitis. So typically...
I think they might be giving the menococcal. Then.
They're giving the
And
menococcal?
I'm not sure, but that's what I thought the AstraZeneca was giving menococcal. But
yeah, and AstraZeneca is more of your traditional style vaccine. That doesn't give me a lot of hope, though. But anyway, so with vaccines, when they do study them, when you get actual FDA approval, here's what's crazy. They use a comparator. They do not put together, do a placebo. But apparently with this COVID-19 modified RNA vaccine that's never been introduced in the human population ever, they did use an actual placebo. So that's really kind of interesting. So I wanted to share with you guys. So basically, let me go back over to here, because I don't want to jump around too far and I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. I kind of want to stick to the subject. Here we go. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys again. Let me get this back up here. So we're going to go over, this is the article. This is a pathologist. I had these backwards. Ruby, go lay down. My dog is whining. I had to tell her to go lay down. So a pathologist, let me blow this up a little bit for you guys. Here we go. So this pathologist petitions the FDA to halt the Pfizer emergency use authorization vaccine until vaccine efficacy is confirmed. So they're driving out today. I saw on Twitter, they got a truck and they're celebrating this. Here comes the first vaccines. I know our Governor Lamont, and I'm going to finish on him. Governor Lamont's so excited because we have Pfizer here in Connecticut. We got Pfizer, right over in Groton. So Lamont has Pfizer executives on his opening committee, and his wife, Annie Huntress Lamont, is heavily involved in all things medical vaccines, testing, and a whole 9 yards. She has a company worth $8.5 billion that we know of. She's also got trust funds of millions and millions of dollars, as does Lamont, and these trusts get money and they're connected to that. So her company, Oak Healthcare FinTech, is heavily invested in testing. And in fact, if you go and you look at the research, or you go and you look at the charts about where all the CARES Act money is gone, you'll see that a good fat majority of it went over to testing. And guess who's providing the testing? Well, Annie Huntress Lamont's companies that she has heavy interest in, like Semaphore, and then she has a connection with Thermo Scientific. I have to get Victoria Eloise back live with me. If you're not following her, go check her out. She's got a lot of information on the corruption of the Lamonts here in Connecticut. So, of course, Connecticut Governor Lamont is so very excited to be offering this wonderful opportunity to take this experimental fast-track vaccine that they have no idea if it works. It's not going to end your mask use. And they don't even know if it could stop the asymptomatic spread, which is in the document. And unfortunately, I lost the slide. And for time's sake and not to drive you guys crazy, I will have that slide up on another show to show it to you. I don't know how I missed that, but it's in that 53-page document that you can also read yourself. So let's take a look here. One of my favorites, it's icandecide.org. Let me just pull this up so I can see it better. So I Can Decide, let me see, here we go. So here, let me say a little bit about Dr. Sin-Hang Lee. I've met him. He's come to testify in Connecticut. He's done fabulous research and work. This is a solid scientist. So Connecticut pathologist Dr. Sin-Hang Lee, an Informed Consent Action Network, ICAN, which pressured these vaccine manufacturers to actually use a inert placebo, a saline placebo in these trials. So God bless them for that. So the FDA to require accurate counts of COVID-19 cases in their Pfizer BioNTech COVID-19 mRNA vaccine trial. This is where the PCR test questions come in. So the major reason for petitioning the FDA for a stay of action is that the phase 2-3, so it's like phase 2 and 3 are kind of together. They're both parts of those trials. They want to know. So the clinical trial of the Pfizer vaccine used a presumptive RT-qPCR diagnostic test. Just listen to that for a minute. Presumptive. And the video, and I'm going to close with this video too. The video that I opened the show with Connecticut State epidemiologist Matthew Carter, talks about testing asymptomatic people, okay? So this test is acknowledged by the medical science community to generate high rates of false positive results among qualified trial participants from the placebo group with minor symptoms such as a sore throat or a new cough. This is especially evident when the de facto unblinding among the trial participants has taken place according to the petition. The Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine trial primarily uses RT-qPCR that employs cycle thresholds, possibly up to 44.9, to identify COVID-19 cases. Samples deemed positive that require high levels of amplification thresholds greater than 30 to 35 are usually false positives, said Dr. Lee. A recent review of COVID-19 PCR tests, which was signed by 22 international scientists, emphatically stated to determine whether the amplified products are indeed SARS-CoV-2 genes, biomolecular validation of amplified PCR products is essential. For a diagnostic test, this validation is an absolute must. Validation of PCR products should be performed either by running the PCR product at a 1%, I'm not sure, the agarose EBR gel, together with a size indicator, DNA ruler, or DNA ladder, so that the size of the product can be estimated. The size must correspond with the calculated size of the amplification product, but it's even better to sequence the amplification product. The latter will give 100% certainty about the identity of the amplification product. Without molecular validation, one cannot be sure about the identity of the amplified PCR product. Sit on that for a second. That's heavy duty. So I'm just going to go a little bit further here. I'm not going to read the whole article. You can find this on the Children's Health Events. A recent petition to the European Medicine Agency to say their COVID-19 vaccine trials used similar arguments regarding the inaccuracy of the PCR test being used and the need for confirmatory sequencing on December. Now, this is the part that I really wanted to share with you. Listen. On December 1st, Switzerland medical regulator Swissmedic said it lacks the necessary information to approve 3 different corona vaccines ordered by the government, including the Pfizer vaccine. And I'll leave on that with this particular article. Pretty wild, right?
Yeah.
We'll probably close out with the video with Matthew Carter.
The things that I find interesting is that a lot of the hypocrisies that are happening, and even Fauci was very clear about saying that the PCR test, when cycled past 35, was pretty much useless. So, that seems to be a common thing that they understand. And, I just find that, some of the hypocrisies when they're talking about the injuries or the potential side effects in the, vaccine group, and the way they dismiss that that they could have been caused by the vaccine. And it's like yet they're jumping on and saying that you have COVID-19 when you just based on, you die with it, and all these hypocrisies that they have. So I find that a little hard to swallow.
It is definitely hard to swallow. And we're getting some great comments in the chat. If there is a way that I could pull the comments out and share them with you guys, but I haven't figured that out. So we got Patrick Hayden saying, and I thank you for bringing this up, there's no liability. There's
that's a
no liability.
Factor, right?
They are liability free. They passed the PrEP Act. Okay, this makes the Childhood 1986 Vaccine Injury Act look like Disneyland. This is like, they have all of the stuff that they put out there for COVID-19 is liability free. So nobody can be sued if you take any of these products that are designed to fight COVID or test for COVID, any of that. It's all liability free. And thank you, Dan, for sharing the video. He's got the BitChute video link. I wish I could pull that right up with the tests. I really appreciate that because I wanted to look up that video of Dr. Mullis talking about what the point of his PCR test was. And you got to check out Dr. Mullis because it's really, really interesting. And thank you, Dan, for saying that. Commenting on that with that link because I was thinking about that link. Yeah, and I hate to say this, guys, but I am going to say it because I have to, and Dan brought that up too as I see him commenting. Trump is pushing the distribution of a vaccine for a virus with nearly 100% recovery rate. Now, that's the one big problem with Trump. He's definitely in Pharma's pocket. Bobby Kennedy does an interview and talks about Trump and that Trump could have done some pretty heavy duty stuff to protect people from vaccines, and it was quite disappointing that he didn't. So I don't want to get into the politics of stuff. I really have a lot of respect for people who are supportive of Trump because they are open to the medical freedom movement. They understand the importance of medical freedom and liberty. And I'm really very thankful for all the new friends that I've made that also support Trump. So I just don't want to get into that political discussion. My liberal friends, they just won't listen to me about vaccines and they hate Trump and anybody associated with him, which is extremely disappointing. And I wish all of us could let go of politics and politicians and come together as a people. That's all I'm going to say about that. But we're getting to the end here. And I wanted to share one more thing with you guys. And this is, let's share this. This is, oh, Ruby, be quiet. My dog's getting hungry. So I know that we're running out of time here. She's saying, feed me. Driving me crazy. It's totally distracting. She knows it too. Dogs are smart. So this is Ned Lamont's. And she's like, I don't want to talk about Ned Lamont. Give me my food. So Ruby, you're going to have to wait. So this is Ned Lamont's press release. And basically, he's just, all excited saying how we're going to, I'm not going to bother reading it all to you. I'm going to close out with Fauci's video because I want that to be the lasting thing that you think about after this video is what Dr. Fauci says. What a freaking hypocrite that man is. But this just goes in to say, this is a significant moment for our state and our country, Governor Lamont said. Here in Connecticut, we are incredibly proud to be able to say that the Pfizer team in Groton helped develop this vaccine to fight the coronavirus, which we know will help to get our communities back to normal. But no, it won't, because they've already admitted that they don't know if it's going to stop transmission of the virus. They have no idea what an impact is going to have on asymptomatic carriers, basically healthy people. Unless you get that shot and you get no symptoms, you actually could be shedding the vaccine because vaccines do shed. So that's a whole other different beast of a conversation that we could have. But this just blows me away. The EUA, combined with this recommendation from our science subcommittee, with some of the best scientific and analytical minds in our state, will provide light at the end of the tunnel for our state to emerge from the pandemic. I take these recommendations seriously, and I thank everyone involved with our advisory group for their hard work and dedication. First of all, Connecticut is suffering not from COVID. Okay, do we just say this real quick? Connecticut is not suffering from COVID. Connecticut is suffering from lockdowns because of COVID. Okay, we're talking about a disease that has a 99 point blah, blah, blah percentage of recovery for most people. People with immunocompromised systems and elderly are always at more risk for everything. Okay, that's just the nature of life. And so we are basically shutting down our economy for our governor to rule by fiat like a monarch, and people are tolerating it. And now we're masking our children, which is an outrageous atrocity that is child abuse. You don't like I'm saying that? Too damn bad, because it's true, and I'm not going to stop saying it. Masking children is child abuse. So I'm probably going to get kicked off Facebook, whatever. Anyway, so I'm going to end out with Flip Flop Fauci. And we'll be back live. I'm going to be back live on Monday night at 8 o'clock. I'm going to be having a conversation with Slayer Studios and those folks over there. We're going to be talking about how do we get people to hear and understand this? And I'm working on doing some more lives with other people and want to get Victoria back on. So anyway, we're going to close out. I'm going to pull up this video for you guys. Let's just see. I still have it here. So I want to close out with Dr. Fauci. I want you guys to take a listen to the flip-flop Fauci man. You guys just listen to this. Because if you just popped in and didn't see it, you gotta see this. This is insane. Flip-flop Fauci. Here There he is. There's Flip Flop Fauci. And here we go. Let's just play it one more time. And I'm going to cut off my head here. I'm just going to leave you with the Flip Flop Fauci.
But one of the things that we are going to do that you need to understand that has been a stumbling block for previous development of vaccines, and that is even before you know something works, at risk, you have to start producing it. Because once you know it works, you can't say, great, it works. Now, give me another 6 months to produce it. So we're working with a variety of companies to take that risk. We didn't take it with Zika. That's why, we have a nice Zika vaccine, but we don't have enough to do it because there's no Zika around. Same with SARS. So that's one of the things we're really going to push on, is to be able to have it ready if, in fact, it works. Now, the issue of safety is something that I want to make sure the American public understand. It's not only safety when you inject somebody and they get maybe an idiosyncratic reaction, they get a little allergic reaction, they get pain. There's safety associated. Does the vaccine make you worse? And there are diseases in which you vaccinate someone, they get infected with what you're trying to protect them with, and you actually enhance the infection. You can get a good feel for that in animal models. So that's going to be interspersed at the same time that we're testing. We're going to try and make sure we don't have enhancement. So the worst possible thing you could do is vaccinate somebody to prevent infection and actually make them worse. Next, and finally.
Yeah, the worst thing, that's the worst thing you can do, guys. That's absolutely the worst thing you can do. And I'm so aggravated. So I just want to put this in the comments. You might hear this going back. There we go. I put my show notes in there for you guys. We will be live again. I'm back in business, getting lives back up and going. Got a lot to talk about, a lot to share. And also, I want to do a project. I want to put this out there for you guys if you ever were thinking about being interviewed and talking with me live about what the COVID lockdown has done for you and your family and what life has been like for you here in the state of Connecticut. So I'm going to be putting out a proposal for that and looking for people who will come on live and interview with me. And the cool thing about that is that I can bring you into my broadcast studio virtually, so we can do it from anywhere in the state and have a discussion about your own experience under the COVID lockdowns and Lamont's edicts here in the state of Connecticut. I'm specifically looking for businesses who have been shut down, who have been forced to close, and I want to hear from them and what their thoughts are. And, one of the things that I just want to leave you guys with too, I follow his name is Patrick Wood. He founded the Technocracy News and Trends, also Citizens for Free Speech. He talks about technocracy and the technocrats, and he does some really interesting interviews on YouTube and writes some great articles on technocracy, news, and trends. But last night, listening to an interview that he did, he talked about surrounding yourself with people and connecting with other people who see and hear what's going on, and how do we open up and spread that message to others so that they hear us, they see the truth, they see the science, instead of just these slogans where people are, oh, believe science, and they shut you off with ad hominem attacks and nobody wants to listen. I want to shine a light to others out there who do hear and who do understand the severity and the situation that we are in, battling technocracy, because it's what it really is. I'm not even going to call it communism. It's not communism. It's technocracy. It's the technocrats. It's worse than communism. Okay, so it's like communism on like steroids. Like it's like communism profound, but it's technocracy. And if you want to learn more about technocracy, I should do a whole show on that. Check out Patrick Wood and Technocracy News and Trends. But anyway, I was thinking about these. Don't comply. Resist. Okay, don't comply, resist, and find other like minds and connect together, and let's start to think about what we're going to do. Any last words you want to share, Mr. Sparks? Hold on, let me get you on the camera.
Yeah. So we really scratched the surface on the 53-page document, and one of the conclusions that I can get through what I've read in it is that they don't know a lot about this vaccine. They don't know if it's going to work with elderly, which incidentally in Connecticut tomorrow they're going to start rolling it out on healthcare workers and with the elderly, I believe is what the article I read said. So we don't know if it's going to work for them. We don't know a lot about the long-term effects because they've only looked at it for a month or two. And it's all going to be after surveillance. So, when you actually get the shot and what's going to happen, we're going to find out. So I just leave you with that,
Yeah, good point. I like doing the show with you, Mr. Sparks. It's awesome to have you back on. I'm so glad that we got our studio set up. So if you want to support our work, you can find us at jcherrypresents.com, where you can make a tax-deductible donation. We're looking forward to doing lots more shows and also starting to incorporate some music from the underground, which we're going to be doing quite a bit of. So if you're a musician and you want to reach out, send me a message. We're going to be doing the Broadcasting Middletown Music Festival this May from our barn. So that'll be new and interesting kind of stuff. So stay well. We'll be back live on Tuesday evening. And till then, keep questioning everything.